Hello and welcome to the Haval H2, the new one, the facelifted one. It's just gone on sale. The first one went on sale in 2017. So here we are in 2020 with a refreshed mid-sized compact family car SUV from a Chinese brand, which is pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, the only Chinese brand which has ever really made a successful go of it in South Africa. I mean, really, there's been a avalanche of interest in the Haval H2, in the Haval brand in general. So join me as we have a look at the new H2. Okay, I promise I'll stop now. I'll just review the car. So if you haven't seen one on the roads, where have you been? There's tons of these things around. They sell like hotcakes. Haval sells about 400 of these things a month, which is pretty damn impressive. But to put it in context for you, it's about the same size as a Hyundai Creta, about the same size as a Honda HR-V, a little bit larger than a VW T-Cross or a Hyundai Venue. And interestingly, it undercuts both those cars on price. So you get a bit more car for your money. You're looking at about $290 for one of these, base spec, but this top luxury spec that I'm driving with all the bells and whistles, and I mean all the bells and whistles, comes in at $350. And that, oddly enough, in this day and age, is this car's best feature. It's sticker price. So yesterday I parked up next to a Honda HR-V, which reminded me that Honda HR-Vs exist. And it's such a pity because those are such good cars, but they don't sell very well. And one of the reasons is because Honda battles to get the pricing down of their cars. They're fully imported. So if you wanted a Honda HR-V with the same spec level as this, you would have to spend another 150,000 Rand to get into an HR-V over this H2. And that is quite a lot of money. That's a whole Suzuki Espresso. You can have a whole Espresso for the price difference between those two cars. And even when you look at the Creta, I mean, the Creta is much better priced, but still, it's an extra 60 grand over this H2. That again is quite a lot of money. So this car is very good value. Or is it? I'm a bit suspicious. I'm suspicious. Why is it so cheap? You know, when something's too good to be true, gotta ask yourself what's going on. Well, let me give you the lowdown. So one of the reasons why this car is so cheap is because the Chinese are just very good at mass producing things. They're the best country in the world at doing that. And so it's no surprise that their cars would benefit from that sort of industry knowledge. The other reason is probably because Haval South Africa prices their cars quite aggressively to build some market share, to gain some market share. And from where I'm sitting, it's difficult to see where they've cut corners. It really is. I mean, the quality of the materials is good, lovely leather steering wheel, big panoramic sunroof, all the bells and whistles, Apple CarPlay, automatic aircon. I don't know, it's really hard to tell where and if they've cut corners here. Allow me to give you an interior tour of this Haval H2. Now, as I mentioned when I was driving, it's pretty classy in here. Nice expensive materials, nothing feels scratchy or overly cheap. You got this nice piano black finish on the dash, automatic climate control, touchscreen infotainment system with Bluetooth, Apple CarPlay, but no sat nav. And Haval have stuck with big knobs for the aircon and the volume. I think knobs are underrated. I really do. I think modern manufacturers have given up on knobs, but they're much easier to use when you're driving than trying to stab at the touchscreen. 2 drinks holders for your drinks holding pleasure over here behind the gear shift. Little bit of space under there where the ashtray used to be for something, your keys or something like that. Big door pockets, that's really useful. Electric windows all round, cruise control, multifunction steering wheel. And what's quite nice with this luxury model is you get keyless entry and keyless start. So when you walk up to the car, you just sort of put your hand on the handle and it opens, don't have to take the key out of your pocket. Same thing when you hit the start button. But I think the real cherry on the cake here, the piece de la resistance, to quote the French, is the panoramic sunroof with the electric retractable blind. That's really nice. That feels very, very expensive, like it's from a much more expensive car. And it makes it feel very light and airy in here. It's a good interior. But there is one area where I think Haval hasn't entirely caught up with the established car makers, and that is in the refinement of the engine and gearbox. And maybe refinement's not the best word, because they're not clunky or noisy or full of vibration. There's actually none of that. Actually quite a quiet motor. It's rather in terms of how it's tuned. So the way the throttle pedal talks to the gearbox and the engine. There's this sort of threesome going on here. It's not going particularly well, in my opinion. In the press release, it says that the engine explodes with power, which is a bit optimistic, if I'm honest. But what it does do is not respond very evenly to your throttle inputs, and the gearbox also gets quite confused about life quite often. So you have to drive this car with the most sensitive right foot you've ever used in your life. You have to really communicate gently with that engine to get a smooth drive. Otherwise it just sort of goes and it's a bit frustrating. It's a little bit frustrating. But having said that, that is pretty much the only problem I have with this car. Okay, maybe one more. When you're really hammering on, the top of the rev range in this engine is quite noisy. But if I'm honest, I've been driving this car for 3 days now. The amount of times I've been to 5,000 RPM is about 2, maybe twice, maybe 3 times there when I just showed you. So you're never really going to have to hammer it into that noisy zone unless you're going for a quick overtake on the highway. But around town, pretty much happy in 2,000 to 3,000 RPM, more than enough power and torque to keep yourself moving around town. So then, to answer my original question, why is this car so much cheaper than its rivals? And it's really hard to tell. I mean, one of the questions you have to address when reviewing a Chinese car is the perception, rightly or wrongly, in the public that Chinese cars are more unreliable than, say, German cars or Japanese cars. And doing the job that I do, a lot of people chat to me about their car problems. I do a live Q&A segment every week on Talk Radio where people phone in and tell me about their car problems. And the H2 is now in its 4th year on sale in South Africa. And I'm not joking, I have not once been told of an issue with someone H2. Not once. Not a single thing has come across my desk, and that's pretty impressive. Obviously it's anecdotal evidence, it's not hard science that I'm basing this on, but that is a very good sign in my opinion in terms of reliability. But on top of that, Haval have really put their money where their mouth is, and they offer a decent warranty on this car. So consider that Volkswagen and Toyota sell their cars with a 3-year warranty as standard. You have to extend it if you wanted it 4-year or 5-year. Haval just throws a 5-year 100,000 warranty right off the bat, and they throw in a 5-year service plan, but keep in mind that the service plan runs out at 60,000 Ks. So that is pretty good cover should anything go wrong in your first 5 years of ownership. And so this leaves me in an interesting position. A lot of people ask me for car buying advice, and I'm trying to work out if there's a particularly good enough reason for me to tell you not to buy this car. And I can't think of one. And I think that's pretty much everything you need to know. Cars.co.za is so much more than just a YouTube channel. Take our app for instance. It's been downloaded over 500,000 times in the Android store alone, which means it must be okay, right? You'll find the links to the download for iOS and Android in the description below.